For the month of September, I challenged myself to write every day for 30 days. So the rules of this challenge were that it had to be first thing in the morning when I wake up, and it had to be at least a page. Some people call this morning pages, and I've done morning pages before. About 8 years ago, I completed the whole Artist's Way, and I loved it. It really helped me find my creativity again. I will say I have been experiencing a few creative blocks recently, so I am getting more into my creative side in other ways. But I did want to write every day in September because I just felt like I needed a grounding ritual in the morning before I start my day, before I step into the world and kind of like turn on and like go to work and be who people like need me to be in the day. I really just wanted a time to focus on myself, focus on my thoughts, figure out what's going on in my head, and try to work through anything. The one aspect of this challenge that was difficult was the fact that I wanted to film this every day and record my journey, and because of that, I wasn't super like deep and emotional with my writing because I didn't want things to be on camera in public for people to see. So that was definitely a challenge, but I actually found that writing about not necessarily shallow things, but more surface level things that I felt safe enough to put on the internet, was actually a lot easier for me, in the sense that it made me realize like how important, like, I feel like sometimes when we write, we don't think that our thoughts are important, that they have to be profound and like deep and explorative. And I think that that can be a block to writing. So for me to really lean into surface level thoughts and to let myself write those out for a page actually helped me go deeper off the page. So what I mean by that is some like emotions come up when we're writing. Some things that we're not always like willing to feel or face in the moment. And sometimes talking about our day and any other aspects of our day can be pretty healing for that, even if we're not directly talking about the emotion or the deep stuff, because you're still having an ongoing conversation with yourself, and that can make room for you feeling safe to express those things. For example, I read or heard a quote one time where, I'm not really kind of like a small talk kind of person in relationships or like meeting new people. Like I kind of want to get to the nitty gritty, like who are you and what's important to you. Like I like kind of like getting to know people on a deeper level and allowing people to like see me, depending. But I think that when we're writing about the surface level thoughts in our journal, that's almost like the small talk with ourselves. And the quote that I read or heard was like, if you can have small talk with someone, so like small talk is important, even though some of us don't like small talk. It is important because it lays the foundation for deeper conversations to happen, because if you feel safe about talking about surface level topics, then you can easily kind of like work your way into deeper topics. So that's a good way to think about it. But at the same time, I just think that I've been writing since I was 10 years old. Like it's almost been 20 years of me journaling. And I still find that one of my personal writing blocks is that I don't really want to talk about the everyday and like rant and ramble about the mundane parts of life, like routines and things like that, even though those things are important to me, and like things that happen during my day, they are important to me. I think I'm just like a very emotional and deep person, so I like to get right into it when I'm writing, and I find that when I'm going deeper, I'm getting more out of my journaling session, which makes sense. But of course, because this challenge was being filmed, I couldn't exactly go super deep with my writing. However, the journal that I used for this challenge was my stream of conscious journal, and I typically don't go too deep in this one. But the thing is if a thought comes, I'm just writing it down because I don't have a filter. I'm not trying to filter out anything about this. But if I write about something and I feel like there is something more there and I need to explore, I'll write it about it in like a more shadow work kind of journal if I really want to explore that emotion or feeling deeper, if it's not just one sentence. Anyways, so in this video, I'm going to tell you my experience with 30 days of journaling, what it felt like, what I learned, why I did it. I did it because I journal all the time. I journal pretty much every day. Basically, I say I journal when I feel like it, and that happens to be every day because I have set up a journaling system that allows me to explore different facets of myself and my life in different ways. So if I'm not using my habit tracker notebook, I'm using my manifestation notebook. If I'm not using either of those, I'm using my stream of conscious, or I'm using my content creation journal, or I have so many different journals that I can pull from. But I also have my nighttime routine, which is 3 different journals, and I use those typically every day, at least one of them every day. So I definitely journal every day, but I don't always journal in the morning every day, and I don't always journal stream of conscious every day. So I used to pick this up like once a week, twice a week, or just as I'm feeling it. But I got this notebook back in February, and for me, I would have normally filled it up by now. But because in the beginning of the year, I kind of just went back to physical journaling because I was doing a lot of digital journaling, just because I always bring my iPad everywhere, and my iPad has basically all of my notebooks that I use on there. So I can just grab a lined piece of paper and write out my stream of conscious writing. Also on my iPad, there's a little bit more room, so I can continue writing if I want to. But yeah, so this year my goal was to kind of like switch my stream of conscious back into a separate journal. So I got this back in February, and I set it up so that I have like a collage of things that inspire me to write. And I also wrote like a little poem about writing and why I write. And then just another like inspiration, collage, vision board type of thing for this journal. And then another kind of poem about writing. And then it's just like all my writing. So I started this challenge on page right here. Yeah. On page 72. So this is where I started the challenge. And this is how much I wrote in February. Keep in mind, I was still like writing in another journal, I think. Maybe I was writing in my shadow work journal a little bit more, and then writing on my iPad. And then now I am here. So I wrote this much in 30 days, which is actually really good. I made a lot of progress. Part of me wanted to finish this journal by the end of the year, and I don't know if that's super realistic, but basically my goal was to just write at least 1 page in the morning. I don't know if I'm allowed to call that morning pages. I mean, I'm writing a page in the morning, but it's only a page. It's not 3 pages. I just don't have that kind of a time in the morning, and I was waking up earlier to do this challenge. But I did try to write 3 pages on the weekends when I had more time to write 3 pages. So I think every weekend I hit that goal, except for maybe one weekend. But yeah, in the morning, it felt nice at first to be able to be like, yep, I'm sitting down and I'm writing and I'm taking this time to myself. I feel like every single morning was really nice to just sit down at my desk, because even that act alone was like reaffirming to myself my commitment to my mental health this month, my commitment to connecting with myself first thing in the morning before I start my day. I felt like I could do this. I was like, okay, this is maybe easier than I thought. I did think it was going to be a lot harder than it was. I did have one bad day where I was just like, I don't want to write. I want to skip it. And normally I would have skipped it, because I don't think that you have to journal every day in order to get the most out of journaling, especially if, you know, your goal is to write every day and then you go to write, but you feel like a lot of resistance when you're journaling. I think that there's a really hard balance with that, because you have to know yourself well enough to know that, okay, I am feeling resistance to journaling because there's something I need to journal about, and I'm just a little bit hesitant to like kind of like go there and break that open. But then there's resistance to journaling in a sense that it's like, if I journal past this, I'm going to resent my journal, or I'm going to resent my practice. So I think it's a very hard line to kind of like know and understand yourself, to be like, yes, I'm going to push through, or no, I'm going to not push through because I don't want to force it, because I don't want to ruin my connection with my journal. Like, very hard line. But the day that I struggled and didn't want to journal, I just like feel like there was a couple of days during the month where I just got to my desk and I was like, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. Like, I don't need to journal. But every single time I felt like I had nothing to say, I sat down and I wrote a page. And I just think that it just reinforced this, like, you think you have nothing to say, but there is so much more to you than you're conscious of every day. And I think it's nice to see what's going on, even if it is like mundane day-to-day stuff, because it just like gets all that out of you, and then you feel clearer after, and you feel like you can think about other things because those thoughts have been recorded, so you don't have to remember them, like, if that makes any sense. But yes, the one day that I tried that I wanted to skip was actually the best day. I found afterward, I felt like, it's very hard to explain, but I felt like a weight lifted off of me, even though there was nothing profound about what I wrote. Like, I think that brings me to my other lesson. The other thing that I learned is that it actually doesn't matter what you're writing about. It just matters that you write. So there's two parts of this. Like, it does matter what you write, because you're getting to know yourself. These are your thoughts. All of them belong, like, all of them are weighed equally, or should be weighed equally, whether we want to feel them or not. They're all thoughts and they're all valuable. So it does kind of matter what you say, because it matters to you. It's about you and who you are, and what's going on within you. And that's really important to be aware of, whether it's what we want to feel or not. But at the end of the day, you're still going to get something out of journaling, no matter what you journal about. The simple act of putting pen to paper and recording your thoughts, like, you're being present with yourself. You are focusing on that word. You're saying, like, this is how I'm feeling. When you're like connecting your pen to paper and you're saying this is, your focus goes to just those words, just those thoughts, because it slows down your thoughts. If you're thinking about your thoughts, you're going to get some sort of value, because there's having your thoughts and then there's thinking about your thoughts. And that's where you can kind of like access your inner insight and kind of train yourself to be more self-aware. And when you're writing these words out, you're being more present with your thoughts, because you have to slow down your thoughts in order to get them down on paper. Like, I think this challenge really just like solidified my love for journaling. But I've been journaling for 20 years, so I know that I love journaling, and it definitely made me feel like I want to journal more. But at the end of the challenge, I was really grateful for it to be over, because then I didn't have to journal. So, but it's a challenge, you know, I called it a challenge for a reason. It was going to be a little bit harder than normal, and it was going to challenge me. So going into this challenge, I really didn't know what I was going to get from it. I didn't think I would get so much from it. And I also, honestly, I didn't think that I would be able to complete this challenge. And so the fact that I did just solidified that, like, yeah, I am a writer, I am a journaler, this is like something I can do. I was really like intimidated by the fact that I'd have to write every single day for 30 days. And when I got to my desk, it was just a lot easier than I thought it would be, but some days a lot harder than I thought it would be. So it was just, you know, both at the same time. I actually don't know if I would do this challenge again. I think it was fun, and I think it was helpful in what I needed at the time. But I think that when it comes to my journaling habits, I think I need a little bit more like freedom and free flow, because I have so many different journals and because I journal in so many different ways. What I need from my journal changes on a day-to-day. However, I definitely do want to do stream of conscious a little bit more, and I think I will prioritize this type of journaling a little bit more. Normally when I journal, like for the past 20 years, it's always been stream of conscious journaling. When I started journaling when I was 10, it was definitely stream of conscious. It was always just pen and paper, and I always journaled before bed because there was a lot of things on my mind and I had a hard time sleeping as a teenager. So I'd always journal before bed. And then I kind of started journaling in the morning when I I got into college, and then I came across The Artist's Way, and then I kind of went full force with it and did that for about a year or two, but it wasn't necessarily every day. I also switched up my sizing of my journals, so instead of doing 3 pages in a small journal, I would do 1 page in a big journal. So I have this journal that is large that I like to do a page in, because it's like, hopefully you can't read anything. But this one has turned into my shadow work type of journal, trauma and healing, and writing about things that I don't necessarily want to like reread. And I've also used just a black moleskin because my writing is pretty small in these kinds of journals. So like a page is like, it's just a lot more writing than writing in this one. And so in this one, I might even just do like 2 pages then. But I think it's really helpful to have a goal for how many pages, because sometimes I will get to like 2/3 of the page and I'll be like, I don't really have, that's all I needed. Like, I don't really have any more to say. But then I keep going and I'm like, oh, that was really nice. Like, I don't know. It's just like a little bit nicer to kind of push yourself when you think that you can't anymore. Just a couple more sentences just to finish off the page. I really like that. And I really like being able to like check it off in my habit tracker or my planner. Like I did, I wrote a page today. Just depends what journal I used or what type of writing I did. Not sure. I think if I ever did a challenge like this again, it might be 30 days of journaling, but like allowing myself to use different journals. I did do one day where I just used my manifesting and affirmations journal because I woke up in the morning and I wasn't in the right headspace. And I really wanted to change my thoughts. So instead of writing what my thoughts were, I wrote what I wanted my thoughts to be. So like if I was feeling self-doubt, then I would just write the opposite of like what I'm feeling and write in more like affirmational terms. So I did do that one day of the challenge. I also pulled an oracle card one day and journaled about the oracle card I pulled, which was super helpful. Like I feel like stream of conscious every day is very beneficial, but I think that there's so many different ways to journal that I just like playing around with different types of journaling, especially because I've been doing stream of conscious writing for so long. And I know that it is always like my base. It's always my number one, and it's always the one that I go back to, is stream of conscious writing. I think if I wasn't allowed to use all my other journals and I could only use one form of writing, it would be stream of conscious writing, hands down. But because I'm in a place where I've gotten to be a little bit more playful and expansive with how I journal, I think it's more exciting for me to use these new journals that I've added to my lineup, these different ways of journaling, that it excites me more. And I'll always be able to come back to stream of conscious. But I do think this challenge did inspire me to use my stream of conscious journal more, especially because obviously, like I said, I have to filter a little bit with when I'm filming. And there was one day where I just had a second notebook next to me, and as I was writing my page for the day, if a thought came into my head that I wasn't really okay with showing on the internet, I would just use a different notebook and wrote off to the side and didn't have that on camera. And that was really helpful. I really liked that technique. So I think that like it pushed me to kind of like make it work in some way. But I think that because I had to be a little bit more aware of what I was saying, now that I'm not filming what I'm writing, now that I can say whatever I want, I might kind of be a little bit more expressive in my writing, which is really freeing. But yeah, I think I learned a lot from this challenge. I know that this video was a little bit not structured. I'm not very structured. I'm a very abstract thinker. So that is everything that I took from this challenge. And like I said, not sure if I would do it again, but I do want to prioritize stream of conscious writing a little bit more in the mornings, because I think it's just really beneficial to clear your head before you start your day. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment below if you like stream of conscious journaling, what your experience is with morning pages, and if you would ever do a 30-day challenge like this. Again, thank you guys so much for watching.